Gil, what do we have here?
This is a Revolutionary War section. Many of the weapons and tools that were used during the Revolution. The king had sent colonizers to the American soil. They didn't want to start a new country. He wanted to colonize for the king, get more land for the crown. Some people from other countries came here searching religious freedom, basically. But the king became abusive with his taxes and started taxing the people. They had nothing to say about it. The cry was, taxation without representation is tyranny. And so they sent a message to the king eventually in the form of the Declaration of Independence, which spelled out some of the abuses and told the king that he needed to shape up, basically. So eventually that led to the Revolutionary War. Now some of the colonists referred to it as a war of restoration, a restoration of their God-given rights. And we weren't doing very well in the battles. General Washington was a wonderful general, but the colonists, the Minutemen, didn't know how to fight. At Valley Forge, where they had to report to winter quarters, there was terrible suffering there. The frostbite, the starvation, and so forth. And so we see a picture of General Washington praying at Valley Forge for strength to hold his ragtag army together. He received an answer to that prayer to God in the form of a man named Baron von Steuben, who came and trained the colonists to fight like soldiers, to take orders and to act more in unison. Then we began winning the battles for independence. But the troubles still weren't over. The Articles of Confederation were such a weak constitution, if you will, that they needed to do something better. So eventually they had a constitutional convention, and General Washington was chosen to lead that convention. We'll discuss that a little later.
And Gil, what do we have here?
Well, many of the instruments of war, the firearms and the accoutrements, if you will, or knives, bayonets. But importance of the big gun that you see here, George Washington ordered 100 of those from an American foundry to guard the villagers against the boats, not the ships, because they couldn't come upriver, but the boats that the British were rowing upriver to attack the villagers. This had a 1-inch bore, 1/4 inch of black powder. It wasn't held on the shoulder, it was rested over a log or the wall of the fort or something, and they would shoot holes in the boats and it kind of dampened the spirits of the British soldiers.
And what's the significance of this long gun?
Well, that's what provided defense for the villagers as they were being attacked by the British.
And who made this big gun?
This was an American foundry from Fredericksburg, and the rifle makers that made this one. He only ordered 100 of these. Then there was they also got arms from the French, and in another building we have one that was made in France. Remember, they had to guard their location. You know, the flash would so they maybe have to move. But a regular musket, as the other soldiers have, that you see here, they could get 3 shots off in a minute. The smoothbores were much easier to load than the later rifling, because the rifling was much tighter, and they had to really tamp it down tighter. So, and the British wanted to confiscate the guns, and so very important to preserve our freedom to have that right to keep and bear arms. And of course that was brought out in the Bill of Rights in the Constitution of the United States. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to the Miracle of America Museum.